$90,000. That's not a number you stumble into overnight. That's years of survival decisions, of choosing between the electric bill and groceries, of watching a credit card balance climb while you pray something changes. And for one person, a disabled parent with a newborn at home and $300,000 in home equity on the line, that number became the wall between keeping their family sheltered and losing everything they had left. This is their story, and if you've ever felt buried under debt with no way out, you need to hear what happened next. Let's set the scene, because context matters enormously here. A few years back, this person had what most of us would call a normal life. They had a job, they had a house, they had equity building in that home, the kind of financial cushion that takes years to grow. Then disability struck. The exact condition isn't what matters here. What matters is that in an instant, the income stopped. The job was gone, and the bills kept coming. Now, disability benefits in this country are not a fast process. Anyone who's been through it knows the system can take years, sometimes 2, 3, even 4 years, before a final determination is made. During that entire waiting period, you still have a mortgage, you still have utilities, you still have to eat. So this person did what millions of Americans do when their back is against the wall. They leaned on credit cards. They took out personal loans. They kept the lights on and food on the table the only way they could. Their spouse was working, but not enough to cover everything, not even close. And then a newborn entered the picture, a beautiful, completely dependent human being who needs stability, warmth, and a roof overhead. The stakes were no longer just financial, they were existential. This wasn't about a credit score anymore. This was about whether that baby would have a home. So here's where the numbers stand when this person finally sits down and faces the full picture. $90,000 in credit card debt. That figure is the result of survival spending. Not luxury vacations, not reckless shopping, but groceries, prescriptions, baby supplies, keeping the lights on. The interest alone on $90,000 in credit card debt, at average rates hovering between 20 and 27% right now, can run anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 every single month. Just in interest, before a single dollar touches the principal. Their home, however, has $300,000 in equity. That's real money, that's an asset, and it's also the thing standing between their family and homelessness, which makes it the most terrifying card to play. Touch it wrong, and you lose the house. Don't touch it at all, and the debt keeps growing until the house is gone anyway. They did the right thing and consulted a bankruptcy attorney. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is the kind that wipes out most unsecured debt like credit cards, sounds like a lifeline on the surface. But here's where it gets complicated. In Chapter 7, depending on the state, there are homestead exemptions, limits on how much home equity you can protect. In many states, that exemption is nowhere near $300,000. So filing Chapter 7 could actually put the house at risk, because a bankruptcy trustee might look at that equity and use it to pay creditors. The attorney confirmed what this person feared. Their spouse's income alone might not be enough to restructure under Chapter 13, which is the repayment plan version of bankruptcy, and keep the house safely in their hands. So bankruptcy, which looks like the obvious answer, might actually be the trap door. Here's what most people in this situation don't know, and this is the part of the story where things start to shift from panic to possibility. There are options between do nothing and file bankruptcy, and they're worth understanding before any irreversible decision gets made. The first is a home equity loan, or a home equity line of credit, often called a HELOC. With $300,000 in equity, this person could theoretically borrow against their home to pay off the $90,000 in credit card debt and consolidate everything into a single, much lower interest rate. Mortgage rates, even in a high-rate environment, are dramatically lower than credit card rates. We're talking potentially the difference between 24% and 8%. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between drowning and treading water. The catch? You need income to qualify for a home equity loan, and proving that income while in the middle of a disability determination is a serious obstacle. But it's not always impossible. especially if a spouse is employed and both names are on the deed. The second option is debt negotiation. Credit card companies, believe it or not, often prefer to settle for less than the full balance rather than get nothing in a bankruptcy. If payments have already been missed, which in this case they have, that actually creates leverage. A debt settlement company or a nonprofit credit counseling agency can sometimes negotiate balances down significantly. This isn't painless. It damages credit, and forgiven debt can sometimes be counted as taxable income, but it can stop the bleeding. The third option, and this one is underused, is reaching out directly to the credit card companies and asking about hardship programs. Most major card issuers have internal hardship programs that aren't advertised. Temporary interest rate reductions, suspended minimum payments, even frozen balances while someone's situation stabilizes. You have to ask, you have to explain, and you have to be persistent. But these programs exist specifically for situations like this one. Now let's talk about the disability process itself, because this piece of the puzzle is critical. If this person is approved for Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, they may be entitled to back pay dating all the way to when they first became disabled. That back pay can sometimes reach tens of thousands of dollars, depending on how long the process has taken. That money, if and when it arrives, could be a significant tool for paying down debt, getting current on the mortgage, or even qualifying for refinancing or a home equity product. It's not guaranteed, it's not fast, but it's real, and it needs to be part of the financial planning conversation. Many disability attorneys work on contingency, meaning they don't get paid unless you win, and the Social Security Administration actually caps their fee. So if this person doesn't already have legal representation for their disability case, that should be the very next phone call. Getting approved faster or getting a favorable back pay ruling could change everything. The other thing this situation calls for is a HUD-approved housing counselor. These are free services, federally funded, and these counselors specialize in exactly this kind of scenario. Homeowners under financial stress, trying to figure out how to protect their equity while managing debt. They can review the full picture, help prioritize which payments matter most, and sometimes connect people with programs that aren't widely known. So what can you take from this story, whether you're in a similar situation or just want to be prepared? The first lesson is that home equity is both an asset and a responsibility. It creates options, but those options come with risk. Never tap home equity without fully understanding the terms and without a realistic plan for repayment. But also, don't ignore it when it could be the bridge that keeps your family stable. The second lesson is that bankruptcy is a tool, not a failure, but it's also not the only tool. Too many people either rush toward it or avoid it entirely out of shame. The right approach is getting a full consultation, understanding the specific exemptions in your state, and weighing it alongside every other option. The third lesson is this: silence is the most expensive choice you can make. Credit card companies, lenders, housing agencies, disability attorneys, all of them have more flexibility than they advertise. But they only extend that flexibility to people who call, who ask, who show up and explain what's happening. Suffering quietly while the interest compounds is the one path that leads nowhere good. And the fourth lesson, the one that matters most right now, is that having a newborn and a disabled spouse in the middle of a financial crisis is not a character flaw. It is a circumstance. And circumstances can be navigated when you have the right information and the right help. If this happened to you, if you've ever sat at a kitchen table staring at numbers that didn't add up, wondering how it got this bad and whether it could ever get better, you are not alone, and you are not out of options. The people who find a way through are rarely the ones who figured it out by themselves. They're the ones who kept asking questions. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss a story like this one. We break down real financial situations, real decisions, and the lessons buried inside them. Because the best time to learn from a financial crisis is before you're in one.